Hi everyone, my name is Alain Dandurand, and what I want to talk about today is Pinpoint. Pinpoint is a book that I wrote that took me 9 years to write, and I'm trying to get it published. Um, what the book's about is pinpointing the truth. So when you talk about truth, you have empirical evidence and scientific proof, so we know that to be the truth if you have the proof and evidence. But for ourselves and our lives and other people and their lives and everything else, how do we know what's true and what's not true? Often the truth is difficult to discern. It's difficult to gather. It's difficult to conclude, right? We just don't know what the truth is about certain things. And it's kind of like we kind of have to wait and experience more before we're able to know what the truth is. So we have intuition, right? Intuition is also known as our third eye consciousness. And at the same time, as it's difficult to know the truth, it's like we know what it is. You're talking to someone, and when they're talking to you, you know what they mean, you know what it is. That's called intuition. So they say to trust ourselves, to trust our inner truth, and to trust our intuition, because there's a reason why we have this little voice inside us that tells us this is the truth. Okay, so my book, or what I want to talk about now, is called Pinpoint, to pinpoint the truth. But when I'm talking about pinpointing the truth, it's pinpointing the truth in reference to suffering. So the theory goes that the only reason why we suffer is because we don't know the truth, right? So when you know what the truth is, your suffering ceases to exist. Your suffering goes away because you know what the truth is. Like, there could be so many examples. So I talked about fear, right? And like fear is always an illusion. And we're often in a state of fear because we're imperfect human beings. We're often in a state of fear. So fear is like a type of suffering, right? So like when we're scared, we're not perceiving things the right way. We're not putting everything in the right perspective. Um, uh, we're having trouble interpreting what's going on, right? When you talk about fear, it's a form of suffering, but suffering altogether has many, many forms or subcategories like anguish, turmoil, anxiety, pain, sadness, grief. You could go on and on and on, different types of suffering. So to pinpoint the truth means that when you're suffering because you don't see the truth, you don't perceive the truth. So then the objective would be to go into knowing what the truth is, right? Or just simply knowing what the truth is so your suffering could go away. So a lot of it is mental, a lot of it is not. Like I'm the kind of guy that likes to not think and not feel and just observe and carry on with my day. But sometimes we have to navigate in our mind. Mentally, when we're in a state of suffering, we have to navigate properly in our mind till we can see, feel, and know what the truth is, right? So when you know, because your suffering goes away. So we're always at a kind of even keel, right? Where if we're in the truth, we're not suffering, right? So the objective when you're suffering is to figure out what the truth is, to navigate, to explore, to discover what the truth is for yourself and your life, right? Okay, so um, there's so many truths in life and existence. You have all your past lifetimes, your future lifetimes. All your past lifetimes, this lifetime, your future lifetimes is called existence. It's the whole time you're existing in the universe. There's so many truths to know that it's impossible to know everything in one lifetime, right? You could read a lot of books. So like in suffering, it's the same thing. You're suffering because you don't know the truth, but there's so many aspects and areas and angles that are hard to cover in the sense of all suffering, why we're suffering. So you kind of have to dig in there and go on a deeper level and ask yourself why you're suffering and to go back into the truth. So like truth is like an origin, right? So the first evolutionary planet is planet Earth. We always go back to our origin. Like the truth is our origin. Like we come from mother and we go back to mother, like Mother Earth, and we go back to universal mother, goddess, or whatever. So we go back not just to our origin, we go back to the truth. So when you're in the truth, you're okay. It could be like a syllable, like you remember a syllable. Oh yeah, that's what it is. I just remember. And then your anxiety goes away, your suffering goes away, your fear goes away because you remembered one syllable in your mind. So sometimes the best thing we can do is just not think and not feel and just be patient that the truth will unravel itself. The truth is going to come up. And if it's not in your mind right now, it's going to arouse in your mind eventually. You're going to come back to the truth. You're going to come back to your origin, right? So in a way, when you're suffering, you don't have to believe what's in your head. When you're suffering, you don't have to believe what you feel. You're just suffering, right? Because you're not in the truth. You don't know what it is, so you're suffering. So you don't have to identify with your thoughts. You don't have to identify with your feelings. One thing with your feelings is when you're suffering, it's an indication that you have to take a look at something, because something, you're not perceiving things the right way. You're not interpreting things the right way. You're not putting everything in the right perspective. So the suffering is an indication that you have to explore more further, and you have to discover what it is, right? And it's getting down to the root that enables you to have the truth that you're looking for. So for different people, it's different truths, right? Because we're all different individuals and we have different problems, we have different difficulties, we want different things, we dislike different things. We're compatible with some people and other people not so compatible. So we're just different individuals everywhere. So the truth is different. There's some absolute truth that's true for everyone, right? But it tends to be most of the time that we're individuals, and the truth is different from one person to the other. So we're talking about Pinpoint. My book is called Pinpoint. I'm trying to publish it. And it's to pinpoint the truth, okay? Because what's happening is we're suffering. I'm suffering again, so I have to know the truth in my suffering, so it could go away, right? And with anything, with any aspect, we are capable of alleviating our suffering with the truth. So no matter what's going on in your life, your situation, what's happening with others in your life, we're always capable to go into the truth, right? So there's an aspect of it that's our inner truth. There's an aspect of it that's intuitive, and then there's an aspect that's proof and evidence. So you could believe certain things, but you don't have the proof, right? You think about certain things, but you don't know if your thoughts are real. You could have like a way of you could have a way of seeing things, but you don't know if you have the wrong way of looking at things, or you don't know if you have the wrong way of thinking, right? So when you have a belief, it does not mean it's real, right? It means it's a belief. When you have a thought about something, it doesn't mean it's real. So what often happens with us, we think certain things and then we suffer because of our thoughts, or we think certain things, we get anxious and scared because of our thoughts. So what I'm saying is that it's not because you think something that is true. It's not because you believe something that is true. It's not because you feel and absorb something that is true. Okay, so there's a difference between beliefs and facts, right? We could have a lot of beliefs, but we don't have any evidence that it's actually real. And we have to watch out for that, because a lot of people believe in many, many, many things, and none of it makes sense, and they're kind of going nowhere with it, and it's affecting their life. It's affecting what they want. It might be blocking them from what they want. So when you look in your mind, you look at everything in your mind, what you think, your thoughts, the whole time you've been thinking, and you ask yourself, do I know this as a fact? Or is this something I believe? Or is this something I don't know? So like something arouses in your mind again, and you ask yourself, do I know this as a fact? Or is this something I believe? Or is this something I don't know? So if I don't know this as a fact, then why am I worried about this? Why am I scared about this? Why am I anxious, right? And when you ask yourself, what reasons do I have to believe certain things, right? Because a lot of us, we believe things because certain circumstances happen, situation happen, or people told us things. So we believe things that's not true, right? So there's a difference between what we believe and what's factual. So you look at everything in your mind, and you have to categorize it properly, right? Organize your mind, the facts. You know this to be true. These are beliefs, and this you just don't know what it is, right? And fourth of all, if you want to add a fourth one, no, it's not true. I know as a fact it's not true, right? So then it's easier to process information in your mind, and it's easier to process your experience, and it's going to help you achieve the life that you want, and to be the person that you want to be, because you're more in truth. You know what it is, or you know what to do. When you practice, when you do this spiritual practice, your suffering goes away, right? So you continue this like meditative spiritual practice, or this mental work, 4 categories, and your suffering goes away. So you get accustomed to that. So you're navigating in your mind, right? Do I know this as a fact? Is this a belief? I don't know this. I know this not to be true, right? And then maybe later on, like you might want to know something. You might want to know certain things, but you're not able to know until you get to that point of knowing, right? So experience usually unravels things, like our experience, our life, what we do day to day, unravels things that we learn, but it unravels the truth also. We come to know the truth, and we go back to our origin in the truth, right? So the origin and the truth is the same thing. You talk about college textbooks, and you talk about university textbooks. They have a lot of knowledge. Most of it is scientific proof. But there's so much more to life and existence than college textbooks and university textbooks. You might learn a bunch of stuff, but it doesn't really give us the tools and the applications for our own life, for ourselves, other people, and what we're trying to do, right? It's like we gain knowledge, but it's important for us as individuals to learn to know what the truth is, right? Because being human is already a difficult being human is already a difficult process, because what entails us being human is that we suffer. It's like it could be some kind of karmic situation, your chemistry with life, but everyone suffers from time to time, right? So it's always from time to time a difficult situation to be human because we're suffering. It's like, so what's important is to learn to know what to do with this suffering. So I'm talking about navigating in the mind to categorize things properly, with the four possibilities. But there's also your inner voice, your inner truth. It's like trusting yourself, right? You're able to trust yourself, where it has nothing to do with other people. It has something to do with you. You trust yourself, and you're trying your best. Say you want to be on the right pathway, you want to stay on the right pathway. You don't want to fuck up, right? Like most people, they don't deliberately, voluntarily want to fuck up, right? So there's many aspects to being on the right pathway and staying on the right pathway. So I'm talking about the college textbooks, university textbooks. There's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, but we need more than that. We need to figure out how to pinpoint the truth for ourselves. And one of the biggest aspects that I talk about in reference to pinpointing the truth is to pinpoint the truth so we stop suffering so much, because it's part of the human experience. We're often suffering. The first evolutionary planet is a karmic situation for all of us, right? So the objective would be to know more and furthermore what the truth is for all of us, right? Individually or as a sum, we can more easily go back into the truth. So the other thing too is you could believe things, and you're allowed to believe those things. Like no one, like you could believe something, and someone says, "No, that's not true." It doesn't matter. It's if it's valuable to you, like if that belief is valuable to you, then you have to go with your inner truth. You have to go with that belief. Because, besides college and university, there's so many things we haven't proven. There's so many things we don't have evidence of. So you're allowed to believe whatever you want. And let's say, hypothetically, you believe something and it comes into existence. Just the hypothetical projection comes into existence. We're allowed believing whatever we want, and no one can tell us what to believe and what not to believe. There's different segments, different groups, there's different federations, different countries, different ethnicities, different religions, different schools of thought, and no one could tell us what to believe. So what I'm saying is it's not bad to believe things, but it has to be in accordance to your inner truth. It has to be something that's valuable for you, right? And to say the very least, why wouldn't you believe those things that are valuable to you until you actually know that it's false, right? If you don't know it's false, then you can obviously hang on to those beliefs. There's nothing wrong with believing things, right? But to bring in awareness at the same time that a fact is a fact and a belief is a belief. There's a difference, right? Like for example, like you meet someone and you have a very passionate one night stand, and you see them for a couple of weeks, and you're like in love with each other, and you believe this is the right person that you're gonna marry and the whole bits, and then like 6 days later, the shit hits the fan, and you're disconnected, you're separated because of arguments, because it's not working. So like what I'm saying is, like, at first you meet this person, you're ignited, both of you are ignited by each other. You have a really passionate one night stand. You come very close to each other, you intertwine together, and you believe that you're right for each other, you're the one for each other. And then it turns out that was not the one for you, that was not the most compatible one on the planet for you. And you're not just discouraged, you're very depleted because you believed in your mind that was the right person. So you have to be careful, right? So even if you're falling in love with someone, or you're in love with someone, it does not indicate that it's the right person. All it means you're in a type of euphoric being in love with the other person. A lot of us, we could love everyone. It's there's a part of us that loves everyone. It's just, so you can't, or falling into love, especially when you get that close with someone, it's easy to fall in love with them. So you have to watch out with your mind, your thoughts, your feelings. Your heart chakra is opened up a lot because you had this one night stand with this person. So you have to be careful. You got to be realistic, objective, rational, logical, right? It's not always easy to do because we don't know everything. We don't understand everything. So to talk about being logical, rational, and objective all the time is a difficult task, since there's so much more experience that we have to go through. There's so much more to know. We're going to meet we're going to meet so many other people, right? But we could be okay in the moment. Like, let's say you're alone and you're suffering. Okay, like, why am I suffering? What's going on right here? Where did that come from? Is this true? Is this not true? You navigate. Do I know this as a fact, or am I just believing that? What's happening here, right? So the more you ask yourself these questions, the more you go back into truth, and you go back into truth, back into truth, back into truth. So you might have a really amazing one night stand with someone, or you get intimate with someone after knowing them for a week and a half or 2 weeks, and you're able to ground yourself, right, to get to know the person even better, to see if they're suitable, if they're compatible, if you're comfortable with them, and the whole bits, right? So as much as we don't know, we could still apply being more rational, objective, and logical, not to hurt ourselves, not to hurt other people. And there could be so many different other examples too, right? Where we don't have to assume so quickly that you assume that's what it is, but you don't know, right? There's a lot of things playing in our mind all the time. We get all kinds of thought and we assume it's real, but it's not. It's something in our mind. We're suffering. It's emotional suffering. We assume that there's something wrong with our life because we're emotionally suffering, but there's nothing wrong with our life. We just have suffering in our tummy. We're emotionally suffering. So it's not because you're emotionally suffering that you're in a bad situation or something's wrong with your life. You're just experiencing that. You're learning to digest it, to stay in there, to stay centered, and to work through it, right? To pass through it. Okay, so this is, I talk about how planet Earth is the first evolutionary planet, and then I believe there's beings in the universe that are more evolved than us, that are more conscious and intelligent than us. So you got the whole universe together, and let's say there's like comic books. They talk about multi-universes. So let's say there's 3 universes, many galaxies, whatever. I tend to like focus on like one universe, but I believe there's higher intelligence. I believe there's higher beings, and you could always connect and align or connect and tune in to the higher beings or the higher power that could show you things, that could explain things to you, that could grant you clarity and help you see, feel, know what the truth is about yourself, your life, and other people, right? So even if we don't know, maybe there's higher beings that do know, like the Lord or the goddess. If we don't know, maybe they know, right? So we can project that, like a prayer. Like if you need help with your life, you need to know and certain things, you need to understand certain things. So you could project into the universe, and different people have different like higher entities, or different people have higher beings, higher power. It's up to the individual. Maybe it's not all the same for all of us, but I do believe that we're human. The highest evolution on planet Earth is the human beings, and then you have all the animals, the birds, the fishes, the mammals. but the highest evolution on planet Earth is the human beings. So in the universe, there's higher and higher beings. There's the galaxies, and then there's, I would assume there's leaders of the universe, right? It's like a team that helps out everyone, and that brings some kind of order in the universe or on planet Earth. So we're not alone, right? We're not alone, and we could ask the question anytime. We could ask for help anytime, and we could go back into the truth, right? Which makes it a lot easier for all of us, right? I think like a lot of people in the world suffer because they don't know what the truth is, and if they knew what the truth is, they wouldn't suffer. So some people never had the opportunity or chance to get to know what the truth is, and if they did, their life would be a lot better. So it's kind of like an exchange. You meet someone, it could be a friend, a lover, a colleague, and you're exchanging. You're exchanging experience, or you're exchanging each other's truth, or experiential truth. You're having exchanges with people, and you become more familiar with certain concepts and ideas that help you, right? So you could talk to a stranger anytime, as unless you sense they're a dangerous person or whatever. You could talk to whoever you want. You're free to do whatever you want in your life. You're free to do whatever schooling, career, jobs that you want to do. No one has the right to stop you. Yeah. So I'm talking about truth I'm talking about truth in respect to the whole universe. Like the universe is huge, right? So like these higher beings, they probably would know what to do, and for us, we would just have to apply it into our life. When we talk about being completely conscious, for us to be completely conscious, aware, it could be difficult. We might be awake, like we might be human beings that are awake, but we're not completely conscious and aware of everything, right? But we can learn to be. You got spiritual practice, you got yoga, tai chi, you got well-being books. There's meditation, prayer. You talk about spiritual, new age spirituality. Religion's still there. The religion is about morality, but like what people tend to do today is new age spirituality, right? And that's what helps them. That's what helps other people. But to invest in new age spiritual practice, it could help us discern what the truth is. So I think one of the major problems in the world is that we don't know what it is, and if we knew what it was, it wouldn't even bother us. Okay, so I talked about fear. So you're getting thoughts that are scaring you because your thoughts are not real, right? I talked about fear, and I said fear is an illusion. It's something in our mind. I talked about humanity being in a state of fear, more than we would imagine. Maybe we're accustomed, we're used to being in a state of fear. It doesn't make it any better. It's because we're out of the truth. We're out of the truth. We're beyond the truth. And when we go back into origin, back into truth, we're like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Fuck, I knew it. I remember that. So then the fear ceases to exist, right? The fear goes away. And for some of us, the fear is always coming and going. We see the person is scared of 10 different things, and you kind of go through their day the next 2 days, and they feel okay. They feel a lot better. And for some people, they fear less. It depends, but I do believe that humanity is in a state of fear, which I call is a collective psychosis, because we believe fearful thoughts, and we believe that the fears in our mind are going to manifest in our life, or we believe the fears in our mind are going to actualize in our life. But no, they're just fears in our mind. So fear is a part of suffering, right? So to pinpoint it, to pinpoint what it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know what to do. So how do I figure this out? What am I supposed to do now? How do I make my situation better? Or like I see what's wrong with me. I see my flaws. How do I make myself better? How do I adjust these things? How do I change these things? How do I go into this career? How do I go into this occupancy? What is it I have to do right now? Right? Sometimes you have to slow it down, right? Sometimes you have to stop what you're doing. You have to relax. Yeah, sometimes you just have to calm down and relax. So you slow it down, or you stop, or you calm down and relax. You're absorbing too much information, too much experience, or not digesting your pills, right? So you have to be careful, because experience could be very hectic. Experience could be very difficult. It's like we're absorbing a lot of things in a short period of time. We're here, people are telling us things. We're trying to get to a certain point in our life, and we're not able to get there. And then there's 2-3 bad things that happened, and you got to watch out. You got to watch out not to crack, right? You got to watch out not to go crazy about something, or you got to watch out to be centered, to be grounded, to be in well-being, to be centered in inner peace, inner serenity. Life could be difficult, but even at that, it doesn't have to be that it's against us, right? It's not that people are against us. It's not that the world is against us. It's not that the galaxy is against us. It's not that the universe is against us. We just, like, it was rough. What we had to experience in the past 6 days was rough, but it's okay. It's like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like, I'm talking about our feelings, our emotions, we're suffering, but it doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? So, I'm talking about fear as an aspect of suffering. Before I was talking about beliefs, and you have to watch out with your beliefs, because you could believe things that are scaring you. You know what I mean? Like, in your mind, you believe a bunch of things that are making you really scared. So you have to be careful what you believe, because you're always going to be like suffering with fear. You have to ask yourself, well, do I know this as a fact? Is this true? This person told me this, but is it true? Or 2 people told me this, is it true? Like, you could have a sum of people, like a sum of a lot of people that think one way, that believe certain things, but it's not true. And secondly, it has nothing to do with you, right? Like, you don't relate, right? You have your own way of thinking, you have your own truth, your own inner voice, and you go with that, right? It's not because a lot of people think one thing and believe one thing that it's true. It just means a lot of people think one thing and believe one thing. So the objective is to go into truth and lean out of suffering. And then, like, when you're suffering again, to go into truth and lean out of suffering. And once again, you go into truth, lean out of suffering. Another thing too, you have to watch out is correlations. Like at the way you correlate things, like I can't think of an example. It's like A does not mean B. It's like, or A does not mean C. A is A, right? If I, hold on, I'll pause a bit. I'll try to think of an example. Okay, so like for example, let's say like you wake up in the morning and you have a rash like over your penis, like your skin over like your penis, and you assume that it's an STD, right? But A does not mean B. It's not because you have a red mark that it's an STD. It just means you have a red mark. Uh, Another example is like the your parents want you to go to med school, to medical school, to become an MD, a family doctor. So you believe because your parents want you to become a family doctor that you should become a family doctor, which is not correlated. It's not true. What your parents want you to do doesn't mean it's something that you're going to enjoy and be fulfilled with. It just means your parents want you to go to med school, right? So you have to watch out with correlations, that A does not mean B, that A does not mean C. You have to be careful about that. Is basically how we connect things. When we have like a lot of dopamine, it's like, well, this means this, and this means this, and because of this, and this is connected to this. Like you have to be careful, right? So you talk about spiritual practice, being grounded, being centered, all that stuff. That helps us. It's just like correlations, making bad correlations. Like you just meet someone and you're assuming things about the person when you're looking in their eyes. And then like as you go on, as you talk to this person, as you keep on seeing this person, you realize that what you assumed was not true. That they were never like that, or they just don't have those attributes, right? So A is A. A does not mean B. A does not mean C. A is A. Just simply that simple, right? Now, when you talk about omniscience is like you know everything. Like maybe you think the Lord of the universe knows everything. But for us humans, or we're still obviously in early evolution, so we don't know everything. Or we have to experience more. We have to get to know more. So most of our thoughts are not accurate, right? We're not to we're thinking all kinds of absurd things. We conclude things, we assume things, we discern things, we misinterpret things. So what I'm saying is, as human beings, our thoughts are not that accurate. Okay, it's like we don't have the means to have a kind of thinking that's accurate. It might be accurate sometimes, but for a large part of the time, our thoughts are inaccurate. Okay, so I'm talking about pinpoint, right? To pinpoint the truth in our suffering so the suffering ceases to exist. To pinpoint the truth in our suffering so our suffering goes away. How do I know this to be true? What's the reality of this thought? Where does it come from that I thought this was true? How do I know if this is a fact or a non-fact? If I don't know, why am I scared about this? Why am I worried about this? If I don't know what it is, why does it concern me? What is it I have to do to know the truth about this? Who is it I have to talk to? Where do I have to go to know the truth? I'm suffering again, right? I'm suffering. I'm suffering. How do I know the truth? How do I get to know the truth? What is it I have to do to know the truth? So, it's just like you assume things about other people, but when you get to know them, they're so different than what you thought they were, right? Like in that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that's to help you perceive things better. You have the negative thought, the cognitive distortion. The cognitive distortion is what's wrong with our thinking, and the right response, the right way of looking at it. But one of the cognitive distortions is mind reading. Like it's like you're assuming they're thinking certain things, or you assume they did certain things. You're assuming they're a certain way, and they're not. Like when you get to know them, they're really nice, they're really cool. You're happy that you got to know them. They kind of come into our life naturally. We kind of go into their life naturally. So to enter that truth, you have to navigate. You have to explore, you have to discover, you have to be logical, objective, rational. You have to ask the question. If you don't ask the question, the universe can't answer. And then you get back to the point, you're asking the question, the universe answers. You get back to the point, you're asking yourself the question, the universe answers. Or you get to the point where you ask the question to the universe answers. You ask the question to the universe answers. It becomes like a it becomes something you do on a regular basis, right? And you're able to delve into the truth easier. It's kind of sad, some people, because they believe things that are not true, and they've been suffering a long time. Sorry. They've been suffering a long time because they don't know what the truth is, right? And if only they could have the right people to go into their life that could show them what it is, they'd be so much better off, right? Okay, so to be redundant again, am I in the right school for myself? Am I in the right career and job for myself? Do I have an alcohol drug problem? Am I a sex addict? Am I a sex and love addict? Do I have codependency issues? Do I have self esteem problems? Do I have anger problems? How can I get more money because I don't have enough money? How can I find the right home? Which city should I live in? the whole world? Which country, and specifically which city, should I live in the whole world? How can I have more food? I don't have enough food. How, where do I seek help? I need to talk to someone. How could I find a friend to talk to? How could I find the right friend that I trust to talk to? What do I do about this situation? It's the best thing I could do. Am I with the right person? Am I dating the right person? How do I know? Why is this so important to me if it's not that significant? Why does this bother me if it's not that significant? Why do I take them so personally? Why why do I take them so personally? When it's not personal towards me, why am I always taking them personally? Why am I always hurt by what other people say? Why do I often have insecurities? How can I have the life that I want? Be the person I want to be, the career that I really want, to do what I love doing most? How can I have the dating life and relationships that I really want to have? Right? So if you ask the universe a question, the universe will answer. It's like my cousin on my dad's side. He says, if you don't want to answer, if you don't want an answer, if you do not want an answer, don't ask the question. It's like, if you don't want an answer, don't ask the question, because the universe is going to answer you, right? So the other way goes too. If you want an answer, ask the question to the universe, and then the universe is going to answer. So it's a relief, right? It becomes a relief to know the truth. It's soothing. You can decompress. Some people, they can't sleep because of what's on their mind. They have trouble sleeping. It takes them, like some people, it takes them like 2-3 hours to fall asleep. It's horrible because they have these things in their mind. And if only they could have that inner serenity, that inner peace, and to quiet their mind and to stop thinking and just fall asleep. Maybe it's easier said than done. Right? But to be in the truth, to know the truth, is very relieving, very soothing, very calming, very peaceful. It's okay, it's like during the day, during the night, you tell yourself, it's okay, everything is okay, and I don't have to worry about anything. Like, everything's okay, everything's taken care of. These two things bother me, but I'm going to surmount it. I'm going to overcome it. It's not going to be there forever. Another like example I could give you, I'm gonna stop this video soon. Another example I could give you is like you have a friend or a lover in your life, and like you spend time alone with them, and you're like anxious when you're with them, and like when you're not with them, you ask yourself why you're anxious, right? And it could be the possibility is that they're not loyal. It could be the possibility is that they're not loyal to you in certain ways or in other ways, and like this person in your life gives you anxiety, right? That if you could trust them, you would, right? That if you could be comfortable with them, you would, but you're not comfortable with them. You don't trust them because they actually are not trustworthy and loyal to you, right? So what I'm saying is like you could ask, you could talk to people, and the opposite is true where you believe certain things about them, but you have anxiety, you feel uncomfortable because they're not saying certain things to you. They're not telling you what the truth is. So it's like you assume that they were okay, but when if you were to know, you would want to take your distance, which would be the appropriate action to take our distance and meet someone else or hang out with the friends we already have. Right? The reason why I'm saying that, I'm talking about pinpointing the truth in suffering. Like we're suffering because the person pretends to be a certain way. You know, like the guy pretends he's a certain way with a girl because he wants to have sex with her, and then he hurts her after because all he wanted was sex. You know, like the guy, he knows what to say to the girl to have sex with her, but then like in the end she gets hurt because he just wanted to have sex and he wasn't being honest, right? So there's different types of people like that. They're not honest about how they are, what they did, and what they're thinking, and it becomes like poison in your life. It's when you it's like toxic people that you have in your life, and if you're anxious and you feel uncomfortable with certain people, you know, it would probably be best to take your distance from that person. Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you for listening. My name is Alain Danzoy. I love you all, and until next time, bye bye.